Developing headline as we're on the air this evening, north of the border. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declaring a national emergency now to end the trucker protests and to halt anyone coming from the U.S. to join the protests. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, now.
Tonight, Canada taking drastic new action to put an end to the so-called Freedom Convoy trucker protests, paralyzing the country's capital city. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoking the Emergencies Act, a never-before-used law granting the Canadian government broad powers, including the ability to remove vehicles and freeze bank accounts.
Occupying streets, harassing people, breaking the law. This is not a peaceful protest. The time to go home is now.
Tonight, officials blocking people from crossing the border into Canada.
The Canadian Border Services Agency is already turning back non-Canadians trying to enter Canada to participate in blockades.
For the past 3 weeks, truckers have been clogging the streets of Ottawa, disrupting daily life, shutting down schools and businesses to protest vaccine mandates and all COVID restrictions. But tonight, the Ambassador Bridge, the busiest land border crossing between the U.S. and Canada, is back open. Police finally clearing the remaining protesters Sunday, arresting more than 24 people. The end to the week-long blockade can't come soon enough.
We've seen extraordinary protests on the streets of China in recent days. They seem mainly targeted at COVID and the lockdown restrictions. But of course, some are being directly focused and targeted at President Xi and the Communist Party. What is your take on what is happening in China and on the Chinese government's response?
We're watching very, very closely. Obviously, it's really important that citizens be able to make themselves heard, that they're protesting, yes, on a specific issue that touches on so many others of government control, of authoritarian states. We, of course, stand with those protesters, where we know how important it is for people to express themselves, for journalists to be able to do their jobs. And we're going to continue to consistently stand up for human rights and the things that people in China and people all around the world are continuing to fight for.
There was disagreement between you and President Xi at the G20 in Bali. And President Xi's rebuke was quite remarkable. Have you patched things up?
Canada is always going to stand up very clearly for our values. These are the types of conversations that one has at these summits all the time, where we make very, very clear what Canada's positions are. We look to do it in a constructive way, but we won't back down from being a country that stands up for the rule of law, that stands up for the rights of citizens, and that will always be there to promote Canadian interests and values on the world stage. I'm feeling good.